Could you please take the roll?
Durancheck.
Here.
Krieger.
Yes.
Begic.
Here.
Coonan.
Here.
Ryder.
Here.
Lutz.
Here.
Herrick.
Here.
All here.
Thank you. Please stand for the invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Lord God, the strength of all who put their trust in you, we ask that you bless this commission and that you lead them and guide them this day with the decisions made so that all citizens in this community will benefit. In your holy name we ask this. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on the agenda will be the minutes of 9/11/18.
Motion approved. Presented. Support.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next will be citizen input. If there's anyone in that, we have a lot of people here today. If they'd like to come and speak before the commission, now would be the perfect time to do it through citizen input.
Hello, I'm Adam Gack. I am the new producer at Q90.1, so the NPR station, and as such, I am going to be covering the city and county news in the area, well, our listenership, so this is one of the introductions I have to make. I did not bring enough business cards. I did not realize how many of you there would be. But I do have business cards and a fleece that's inappropriate for the weather. So you know I'm on the level.
Anyone else would like to speak before the commission? Seeing no one, we'll move on to petitions and communications. First on the agenda is a tribute to Betty Dabrowski. We'll just say it's a motion for it. We need a motion for it.
So moved. Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I will read this. Betty, you need to step up here for me. You sit back there, nobody can see it. Everybody, step right up. Come by. Step right in front of Mr. Barsha. You always talk about him anyway, so it's a good time to get by. Keep coming. I know. You're going to end up there anyways. So, by the Bay County Board of Commissioners. The Bay County Board of Commissioners and the Bay County Executive recognize that oftentimes citizens of Bay County are deserving of special recognition for exemplary performance, and one of these citizens is Betty Dabrowski. And whereas Betty Dabrowski, as the mother of 6 children, one of which was a 12-year-old special needs daughter, became involved with the Special Olympics locally in 1968, a totally new experience for her daughter and their entire family. And whereas Special Olympics is a global movement of people creating a new world inclusion and community, where every single person is accepted and welcomed regardless of ability or disability. And whereas Special Olympics help to make the world a better, healthier, and more joyful place, one athlete, one volunteer, one family member at a time. And whereas Betty Dabrowski, at 85 years young, is still involved with the local Special Olympics, which includes events like hockey, skating, skiing, snowshoeing, baseball, and which has over 200 participants locally. And whereas in serving the Special Olympics through many years of involvement and extensive selfless acts of kindness, Betty Dabrowski, who has deemed her Special Olympics experience as worth more than money, has been a visible force in the Special Olympics community and has earned the respect and admiration of all who have worked with her over the years. Therefore, be it resolved that the Bay County Board of Commissioners and the Bay County Executive take this opportunity to express their heartfelt appreciation to Betty Dabrowski, recognize her volunteer contributions which have benefited so many, and offer their best wishes for continued success in all future endeavors. And as a side note, just people who don't add that up, from 68 to 18 is 50 years Betty's been doing this. You know, when we sometimes, you know, when we're out and we travel around in our districts, you know, we find out things about people that we live by that we never knew, and that was my experience. And you know, and I didn't hear it from Betty. I heard it from somebody else, you know, a neighbor 6 blocks away. That what she did is, I said, you know, we need to recognize you, Betty. I mean, not too many people can do it. Not only for 50 years straight, but I mean, working with Special Olympics is hard. It's a special challenge. It's a special gift that people have, and we'd like to Mr. Barsh, you can step right up. Let's present Betty with this.
Could I say a few words?
Absolutely, you're going to stand up here.
I'd just like to commend the chairman for honoring such a distinguished individual and her husband who is in the back. Ray, why don't you raise your hand, Ray? I know over my career in public service, I had the opportunity to meet regularly and work with the Dabrowskis, and even when I was in Congress, I remember you and Ray and your family coming down to testify before Congress about what the federal government could do to better assist our citizens with special needs. And you've been a champion your whole life, Betty and Ray, the rest of your family, and thank you for what you've done. And I think you certainly deserve this recognition from Bay County.
Thank you.
I'd like to accept this award for all those who helped me along the way, all the chairmen, all the volunteers who spend hours working with the youth of our group to get to give them the courage to know that they were as good as everybody else was. Awesome. And that to me is the most important thing. They are as good as everybody else. So I accept that for them and for all those who work so hard for it.
Little smile. Big smile. Big kind of cheese. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can look at
I guess, for cookies.
Next, thanks again, Betty. Thanks for all you folks that came to support her, because you know, it's a great. She has a lot of support people. Betty has a place at the south end, like you know, so you go by her house and it just says the porch, and you can go by there many days of the week, and there's just people sitting out there. And I'm not even sure if they live around there, but they stop and talk to her, you know, because she's always out there. But it's a very well-known spot down on 32nd Street, so they'll keep showing up now. They always have. Thanks again. Next, with designation of October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Bay County, resolution number 2018-217. Motion to
So moved. Support.
all in favor?
Aye.
By Bay County Board of Commissioners, whereas home should be a place of warmth, unconditional love, tranquility, and security. And for most of us, home and family can indeed be counted amongst our greatest blessings. Tragically, for many Americans, these are blessings that are tarnished by violence and fear. And whereas every 9 seconds, a woman in the United States is assaulted by an intimate partner. And whereas an average of 3 women are murdered by intimate partners in the United States every day. And a person experiencing strangulation in a relationship is 7 times more likely to be murdered by their partner. And according to the American Psychological Association, the presence of a gun in a domestic violence situation increases the risk of homicide by 500%. And whereas women are not the only targets, men, children, the elderly, family pets, and responding law enforcement officers are counted amongst the victims. And whereas, according to a study by Break the Silence 2006, witnessing violence is the strongest risk factor of transmitting violent behavior from one generation to the next. And whereas children exposed to a violence are more likely to attempt suicide, abuse drugs and alcohol, run away from home, and be exposed to human trafficking. And whereas nearly 1 in 5 teenage girls who have been in a relationship, said by a boyfriend, threatened violence or self-harm if presented with a breakup. And whereas young women between the ages of 16 and 24 experience the highest rate of intimate partner violence and sexual assault. And whereas domestic violence costs an estimated $8.3 billion annually in medical care, mental health services, and lost productivity on the job. And whereas domestic violence victims lose nearly 8 million days of paid work per year in the United States alone. the equivalent of 32,000 full-time jobs. And whereas women, men, and children living in domestic violence suffer higher rates of physical injuries, chronic health problems, depression, PTSD, attempted suicide, substance abuse, behavior problems for children, and homelessness. And whereas in an effort to end domestic violence and provide safety to victims, the Bay Area Women's Center offers free of charge services to victims and their families through emergency shelter, a 24-hour crisis line, counseling, support groups, and advocacy, and community education. Therefore, be it resolved that the Bay County Board of Commissioners, along with the Bay County Executive, proclaim the month of October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Bay County, and urge our citizens to observe this month by becoming aware of the tragedy of domestic violence, supporting those who are working towards its end, participating in community efforts. Signed, Thomas Herrick, James Barsha, Cynthia Luzak.
There's representatives from the, who'll come pick up this proclamation. Mr. Barsha, would you like to come forward?
Certainly well-deserved recognition for all you do in protecting families and beloved family members throughout Bay County from any form of domestic violence, including members of the family that also are pets. Tom, officially present?
No, these folks do a great job, you know, and it's good we have awareness of what's going on, you know, because most of the time it's because people aren't aware. That's when things happen, and the more we can do to make people aware of all these things, not just because of other things. But I think that it serves the county well. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, can I have you on that side?
Yep.
Congratulations, Jeremy.
Not picking on you, sure. Hey, picking on cheese. There we go.
There we go, big time cheese.
Very good, thank you.
Be a little bit easier.
I just wanted to take a second to say how grateful we are to Bay County and the commissioners for partnering with us in this work. The only way to affect change in eliminating domestic violence is for us to stand together as a community and say, enough is enough, no more. We deeply appreciate your support and thank you for making this an important item on your agenda every October to recognize Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we need a motion to go out of regular order of business for a public hearing on the proposed 2019. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Somebody here to present about the budget?
There's not an actual presentation. We have distributed the information to the commissioners. But if there's anyone from the public that needed to address the budget, we can.
Okay.
We're going in, just a brief overview, we're going in with a total budget of $139 million at the executive level budget, so we're still working on the budget through the commission level, but at the executive level in which we present, our total budget is $139 million, which is less $2 million from 2018. The general fund is coming in at 36.6, and in 2018 it was 38.1. The reduction or the difference of $1.5 million is our $1.4 million one-time VIPA contribution. So that makes up the majority of where we've reduced. So our budget is pretty much stayed stable. So between 18 and 19, we have general fund requests of $1.5 million in capital equipment with $2.1 million of capital expenditures countywide. So that's the portion of the budget that we'll be looking at more in depth to try to prioritize those capital improvements and try to get where we need to be to balance the budget. Currently, the executive budget has expenses of the general fund, is requesting to use $1.9 million of unassigned fund balance to balance the budget at this point. So we will work to get that down.
Mr. Barsha here.
Well, I defer to the commission.
Okay, Commissioner Coonan.
The revenues from property taxes, that's up somewhat, one point.
We had, it went from 15.9 mils to 16.1, so we did have a slight increase.
Couple hundred thousand.
Couple $100,000, yeah, so far that's been increased within the executive level.
Anyone else?
I was just going to, Mr. Chairman, thank the commission and Mr. Redmond and all of our dedicated employees in the finance department for crafting what I think will be a good balanced budget that will prioritize our spending in line with what our residents would hope to be achieved through our budget. And just wanted to say it's sort of a new process that we've begun this year, but I think a lot of good interaction and attendance by commissioners to some of the budget sessions is helping to get more input into crafting this approximately $140 million budget. So that's all I have.
Thank you. All set? Seeing no one else, we need a motion to go back to regular order of business.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we'll have the introduction of the new MSU Extension staff by Mark Rankin, MSU Extension District 9 Coordinator, and then we'll get a brief overview of the programs.
Good afternoon and thank you. I would first like to start off by saying thank you to the County Commissioners for your continued support of MSU Extension. As you know, I'm new to MSU Extension. I started in May, and when I started, I was introduced to the Board of Commissioners. I assumed that most of our new staff were introduced to the Board of Commissioners, and I found out that not to be true. And so I told them I would ask for the opportunity to introduce some of our new staff. And so 3 of them want to speak today and share a little bit about their programs. But we have a new office manager, and that's Gayla Banks. She's 20 hours, and she's here on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Friday mornings. I also have Trina Zimmer. She is our new 4-H supervisor. We also have Megan Gass, who is our Sea Grant educator. We have Holly Julian, who is our 4-H program coordinator. And then also Beth Dowell, who does our 4-H Tech Wizards and STEM programming. Also here today is Jody Schultz, and she's a statewide educator, and she does programming all over the state of Michigan. So the 3 ladies will present at this time. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Megan Gass and I serve as a Sea Grant Extension educator around the Saginaw Bay region. With my position with Michigan Sea Grant and MSU Extension, I support communities applying science-based knowledge to address Great Lakes issues. Over the course of my position since beginning in February, I've supported a variety of programs, and I would like to highlight a few of them today. This summer, partnering with 4-H and many local partners, we facilitated 2 youth workshops at Bay City State Park. The first workshop was an invasive species workshop which targeted middle and high school youth. At this workshop, the youth were able to learn about the impact of invasive species, how they can develop dense monocultures and don't allow for other species to thrive. And they had a hands-on stewardship effort by removing European frogbit. This aquatic invasive plant is found in Saginaw Bay, and it's also a new invader in Michigan. The participants that day removed 250 pounds of European frogbit in the course of an afternoon, and they also learned how to stop aquatic invaders from moving from one area to another. Later on that month in July, we hosted a 4-day Saginaw Bay 4-H fish camp where youth ages from 8 to 12 learned how to fish. They connected to different Great Lakes issues, from exploring the food web, learning about the impact of marine debris, and also learned how to be a good angler. Over the course of the 4 days, they were able to fish every single day, and at the conclusion of the camp, they received a rod, reel, tackle box that was fully stocked, and a variety of supplies that will help them to continue to serve as an angler and a steward in our Great Lakes. Then over the course of the summer, I also supported communities around Saginaw Bay to address resiliency issues in the context of extreme storms and flooding. Specifically, we've facilitated 3 webinars connecting information from hazard mitigation planning, the NOAA Digital Coast Partnership, which is a database and tool set that you can use to explore the impact of extreme storms and flooding, and also resiliency strategies. And then also the community rating system, which is a tool that communities can use to decrease the cost of flood insurance for community members that fall within the FEMA floodplain. All of these webinars are recorded and are available online for stakeholders and community members and commissioners as well to watch, to be able to learn about this content for many years to come. At the end of the summer, we hosted a lake sturgeon reintroduction event, which was a way to celebrate all of the great restoration work that has occurred in Saginaw Bay that is leading to the reintroduction of lake sturgeon in the watershed. In the Cass River, was the first time lake sturgeon were released into the system, and we released 300 lake sturgeon over the course of this fall, and this is a commitment of Michigan DNR and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to continue to stock lake sturgeon. We'll be stocking about 1,000 juvenile lake sturgeon every single fall for the next 20 years. But this is a signal for improved health in the Saginaw Bay watershed, and the introduction of lake sturgeon was also a great way to connect community to this event. We had about 200 people that attended, and we're continuing to connect youth to lake sturgeon as we expand the Sturgeon in the Classroom program. This fall, Bay Western Middle School, along with 2 other schools, will be raising sturgeon in the classroom, so the students get to see firsthand, learn more about these species, and then they also get to connect to other different types of Great Lakes issues. I thank you all for allowing me to serve the community here, and I look forward to partnering with you all as we continue to address Great Lakes issues and help economies to develop sustainably. Thank you.
And I'm Jody Schultz. I'm not new. I'm a senior extension educator. I've actually been here for 16 and a half years. But I wanted to have a chance to come and talk to you today because my position has recently changed in the last handful of months. And our MSU administration has asked me to take more of a leadership role in our volunteer selection process. In doing that, they've created a team of staff, 2 of us, to work with our volunteer specialist on campus to create what they call a volunteer excellence support team. And really what our role is to provide support to our staff as they navigate our volunteer selection process and have questions with potential volunteers or current volunteers and need help navigating our policies or reading criminal history checks or being with them during interviews if that's what they need. So really supporting our staff. Also, our administration has asked me to be a part of a team called SAFE, and that stands for Screening Applicants for Effectiveness. And that's a program that came out of California. We've had 1 staff person trained for the last handful of years. Now there are 2 of us who are officially trained, and we have 10 that will be trained in the very near future, Trina being one of those 10. And really what that program is a skill-based training, working with our staff to teach them how to screen our applicants, our volunteer applicants, for effectiveness. And essentially looking for red flags or potential red flags around child molestation. So we know that child molesters like to target youth-serving organizations like ours and other nonprofits. And so we want to make sure that our staff are ready and have the skills that they need should they encounter a red flag or a potential red flag and know what to do with that. So between now and the end of the year, we're having 9 trainings all throughout the state. The most recent one that we just had was here in September, end of September, at the Saginaw Valley Research Center. And so we have currently 200 staff, a little over 200 staff that are registered for those training, and our administration is asking any of our staff that work with volunteers, vulnerable populations, youth, or children to attend those trainings. So it's a pretty important topic. And then the last thing that I'm focusing on is a new AmeriCorps program. And I think that the last time I was here, I was talking about our planning grant, which was just about a $200,000 grant to get ready for a full AmeriCorps program. So we received that grant. We wrote for the full AmeriCorps grant, which it's just around $500,000. We received that grant from the Michigan Community Service Commission. And so that will bring on 30 AmeriCorps members to focus on 4-H spin clubs, which are special interest or short-term clubs throughout the state. And actually, Holly's going to be interviewing a potential AmeriCorps member right now. So I'm going to stop talking so that she can get on with that. But we'll be having 30 additional staff coming on throughout the state.
Hello everyone, I'm Holly Julian. I'm the 4-H program coordinator here in Bay County. First I want to touch on our 4-H Tech Wizards program. It's our mentoring program that we are housed at Washington Elementary. We have restarted that partnership again this year. This is our 5th year being there. We have 30 plus little youngsters, 2nd through 5th graders, where they come in the morning, have breakfast with their mentors. We have 6 mentors currently there right now, always looking for more mentors. And we also started a partnership with our Tech Wizard program at the YMCA. So we go there after school. We have 5-year-olds to 12-year-olds at that program, where we have a couple mentors there where they touch on STEAM projects. They just made catapults today, actually. So they were shooting cotton balls all over the school. So fun stuff there. We also partnered with the Bay County's Gypsy Moth suppression program over the summer to make kids aware of the emerald ash borer and treatment and damage done by those invasive species. We also partnered with the Disability Awareness Training team from Disability Service Resource Center, where they also came and talked to the youngsters at Washington Elementary and just sort of made them aware of what that program does. So at the Y, like I said, they're 5 to 12-year-olds. Over the summer, we reached over 50 students per session. We had 10 sessions over there at the Y, so we were reaching quite a few kids in our community with that program. And also over the summer, we partnered with the Bay County Community Center Summer Outreach Program, where I don't recall how many times we went there, but every session we had over 100 kids that we saw throughout the program, so quite a few kids there as well. And just regular 4-H news, we had an awesome fair this year at the Bay County Fairgrounds. Both of our barns were full, so that is a huge improvement from last year. Our horse barn numbers doubled this year, so that's awesome. And our livestock barn was full. Every stall in that barn was full, so that was awesome to see all the kids bringing their projects. During that time, we partnered with Farm Bureau for our Bay County Fair. They help us with our annual Egg Olympics. It's a water-based obstacle course that the kids get to participate. They provide the t-shirt and volunteers to help us during that event. We also partnered with them in the springtime. We do their Harvest for All project, where families can sign up to raise 25 to 30 meat birds at their house. And they provide the birds, they drop them off, they pick them off, and they provide all the feed. So this year we had quite a few families that participated. We raised 255 meat birds with a total weight of 1,575 pounds of meat, and they donate them to community members throughout Bay County. We are continuing our partnership with Handy Middle School. We partner with the 21st Century program. It's an after-school program where they are having us focus on money and budgeting and that sort of thing, because that sort of is not talked about in school anymore. So I go in there and teach them fun things about money and budgets and that they really want to talk about. Not really. What else do we, I think I feel like I talked about everything. So yes, thank you again for being a great support for us. We truly appreciate it. So I'm going to go interview now. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess we're all set. That's everybody left. Yep. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for that presentation. It's all good. Thanks. Next on the agenda, John Matthew DeHeus.
We need a motion.
We need a motion to accept. We need a motion to receive. Support. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you. Next, John Matthew DeHeis, request for reappointment to the Bay County Land Bank Authority as the at-large representative.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next will be the reports and resolutions of committees. The Ways and Means Committee, Commissioner Lutz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today I bring before you Resolution 2018-218. It's the funding for expert witnesses in People versus Burgess case from the prosecutor. I move that resolution.
Support.
Discussion. Mr. Barsha.
Yeah, I'd just like to add to my comments last week. During the past few days, I had an opportunity to research Dr. Bednack on the internet, and she has an extensive history going on 6 decades as an expert forensic psychiatrist. So I think she will, with her testimony, ensure that Mr. Burtis probably, hopefully, never gets back out on the streets to wreak havoc on any of our citizens here or anywhere else. So very supportive of this, this resolution. Thanks.
Commissioner Durancheck.
I have a few questions for the prosecutor. The funding for the defense indigent is allocated at about 17.5, I understand, and we're going to be responsible for that amount also.
Yes, that's my understanding. I can't tell you the exact amount because the amount was sealed. That is my assumption. It is around that amount, but it was ordered. The court ordered it, and I believe that would be county money. Yes.
Some of these cases and other municipalities have been. I see the judges have, they're 40 to 60 years, and some of and I can't support this, but because I believe that our judges that we have that are going to hear this they're not going to let these people go with 25 or 40. They're going to. That's just how I feel. I'm sorry. So that's why I will be voting no.
And I understand the commissioner's perspective. When we go to court, I can take nothing for granted. I do not know what the judge in any of these cases will do. So based on, I can't assume. That is why I made the request, but I understand your perspective.
Commissioner Lutz.
So you're requesting $20,000 for our expert witness. Where's the other $17.5 going to come from?
I can't tell you which budget it came from, but it was ordered. It's not part of the indigent defense. That's something different. So I can't tell you where that came from exactly.
Go ahead.
The 17.5 is already within our budget, so we didn't need to request additional funds, but it would be within the indigent council.
No, sorry, not. Because it's an appellate issue, actually there's separate grant funding for these juvenile life cases. It's not part of MIBC. We are not covering the juvenile life cases.
I'm saying indigent, it's the within our general fund dollars of where, I'm sorry.
Just not,
we call it
okay, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Sorry, we call it indigent, but it's the council side of where we're hiring the outside council, and there are funds available there. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So that'll be coming from our general fund dollars.
Yes, but it's within the budget realm already, so.
But this guy doesn't have the money to hire an attorney.
Right.
So he's indigent and we end up paying for it. So may I ask Barb a question then?
Yes.
If I may. So you said there's a separate fund for that?
I believe that SADO has some grant funding to assist with the juvenile life cases. And I don't know exactly what it's set aside for. I don't know whether experts are included, but I believe the attorneys are paid for out of this. They got a grant for this.
So,
oh, it does, right. That doesn't affect the it's only on the defense side.
Right.
Yeah.
But the 17.5 that we're talking about is on the defense side.
I don't actually know the structure of that. All I know is that it's definitely not out of MIDC funds. That I can tell you for sure.
Okay. So we're getting double hit here.
Correct.
With one motion. Okay.
Anyone else? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Who's our no?
One year, roll call on that. Yeah, noes, please.
That's Adjournment.
Okay, thank you.
So noted. Thank you.
So,
Commissioner
next
Lutz.
apparently that motion passed, so I'll move on to Resolution 2018-219, it's a revised Bangor Township, Bangor Schools Agreement for Road Patrol Deputy from the Sheriff's Department. I move that resolution.
Support.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is Resolution 2018-220. It's the 2019 transfer from delinquent tax revolving fund from the treasurer. I move that resolution.
Support.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is Resolution 2018-221. It's the 2018 drain assessments from the Drain Commissioner. I move that resolution.
Support.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is Resolution 2018-222, Memorandum of Understanding for use with Ryco Copier, MDOC, probation and parole. I move that resolution.
Support. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is Resolution 2018-223. It's the budget adjustments for improvements at Penn County Park from recreation and facilities. I move that resolution.
Support. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is Resolution number 2018-224. It's the BCTV sponsorship agreement renewals from Administrative Services. I move that resolution.
Support.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is Resolution 2018-225. It's the site agreements with Calhoun Township and Hampton Township from the Department of Aging. I move that resolution.
Support.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is Resolution 2018-226. It's the site agreements with Williams Township from the Department of Aging. I move that resolution.
Support.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is Resolution 2018-227, development of proposed ordinance from 911 dispatch. I move that resolution.
Support.
No discussion. I have a question. Maybe just give us a look, just for as you develop this. How is the addresses? How are they going to be supposed to be shown? What's your thought process on this?
Yeah. So we want to make sure that the address is shown somewhere on the home, clearly labeled, and utilize. Make sure we use fire code and some other pieces, incorporate those type of things in there. But that's one of the pieces of that is the physical, making sure it's physically labeled and it's prominent on the home.
Is there like, it'd be like a size for the numbers and things like that? Is there a specific size?
Yeah, all the ordinance that we've looked at go into great detail about the size, where it should be located, how it should be prominently located on the home. Yes.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next, I bring a resolution 2018-228 from apportionment, from equalization. We have a revised copy of that on our desk today. It was changed. We are not going to be bringing any meals for Gypsy Month this year, so it has been adjusted. I move that resolution.
Support. Which, discussion, which means everybody's getting the rebate on their taxes. People always want to cut in taxes. This is a cut in taxes, right?
Lowering.
It's like a cut. Yeah, we're just not collecting, but that's it. But it is. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Does the clerk have a copy? Okay. Just want to make sure. Next, I bring resolution 2018-229, the utilization of federal transportation planning funds, the PL, and its asset management funds in accordance with fiscal year 2019 Unified Work Plan from BCATS. I move that resolution.
Support. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is resolution 2018-230, Varnish, Michigan, Babies 2. From the Health Department, I move that resolution.
Support.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is resolution 2018-231. It's the waiver of fees for the Clear the Shelter of Dogs and Cats event on 10/6/18, animal control. I move that resolution.
Support.
Discussion. How did Clear the Shelter go?
I was going to give a report under town executive, but I'll do it now. We had a great turnout, and 10 dogs and 33 cats were adopted out, and the only cost for the adopted families was the cost of their license. So we're very grateful to the Bissell Foundation, which reimburses all of our costs for vaccinations, shots, spaying, neutering, and anything else the animals need to prepare them for adoption. So we had a lot of families that were happy, and a lot of animals happy to get out of their cages as well.
And I tell everybody I see when I go meet people, I say, hey, when I hear dogs and cats in the house, I say, if you need a couple more, we got them for you for free. So, and they're all spayed and neutered too, so you don't have to worry about them. Thank you. Nobody else? Anybody else? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is resolution 2018-232. It's the payables for the general fund. I move that resolution.
Support. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And that's all I have from Ways and Means, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Lutz. From the Personnel and Human Services Committee, Commissioner Ryder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have resolution 2018-233. It's appointment of Deneen Wright to the Bay County 401K Committee. I would move that resolution forward.
Support. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
We have resolution 2018-234, Michigan Independent Funded CFO position. I would move that resolution forward.
Support. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
We have resolution 2018-235, Office of Assigned Counsel Reorganization. I would move that resolution forward.
Support.
Discussion. Commissioner coming in.
Thank you. It says the hiring of the staff is contingent upon the receipt of the initial funds from the MIDC. Have we gotten any funds yet?
No, the budgets are in process. We are completing your contract based on the budget information we were just sent. We expect the beginning distribution to happen sometime later next week.
So, but if we don't get it this, even though we're going to approve this, it doesn't go into effect.
Correct.
Until...
I don't know that yours will necessarily be next week, but I think the first ones will be distributed next week.
So what happens between now and then, we just continue on as we have been in the past or presently? Okay, so the people doing the work presently will therefore take on, through reorganization, probably the same jobs that they're doing now.
Well, I'm not sure I understand your question. You're talking about after the money flows?
Yeah.
After the money flows, your plan goes into effect. So whatever your plan provides for whatever those positions are, which includes, I believe, a movement of the one position over to the, from the court to the executive branch, as well as the hiring of the CFO. And an additional part-time or an additional part-time? Yes, an additional part-time. So you have 2 new hires and 1 transfer of a job to the executive from the judicial. That's the stuff that only goes into effect after you get the money.
Well, I see that here, and one of the reasons I ask is there's a position there that is being reorganized that hopefully, you know, when the reorganization is done, they have a job. And I'm not sure if we're going from non-union to B camps, if something about the job description. I think that job description, there must be a minimum job description so that that individual will qualify for that position if they put in for it. Is that correct?
There'll be, the job description that currently exists for that position is many years old. So there'll be an updated job description with minimum qualifications like all of our job descriptions have.
So you're going to update that job description?
The duties are not identical.
Yeah, and so all the job descriptions, anytime we have to post a position, we look at it to see if there needs to be updates. And so since that one is 15 or 20 years old, there will be updates to the job description.
Okay, but there will be minimum if you can do the job. You don't necessarily need a master's degree if
that's right, yeah.
You'll just need to be able to meet the minimum standards of that job description. All right. Thank you.
Commissioner Lutz, you're next.
Well, one, we also had the CFO position that comes under the engineer, right?
Correct.
In addition to
There's 1 CFO, 1 part-time addition to the support staff, and 1 transfer from court side to executive side of support staff.
And then if I could ask Barb how the funding mechanism is going on the indigent, you know.
Well, there's a lot of negotiating going on, a lot of action between the Michigan Association of Counties, the State Budget Office, LARA, and the MIDC. I expect there will be a resolution. I can't give you a date there'll be a resolution, but they're meeting a lot, and I expect there'll be a resolution, and I expect it will be relatively soon. So right now, what we're doing is we're sending contracts out under our original distribution scheme. Anybody that signs, you can't get money till you sign the contract. So that the original scheme was 20% up front and then a reimbursement on a quarterly basis. So if you sign that contract, you'll get your 20% within a few days after that. Because when we send you the contract, it's going to be signed from our end. So when your end signs, that transfer can happen almost immediately. If there's an amendment to the distribution schedule, it will be in your favor, and we will simply send out amended contracts that provide for that alteration. So any amendment would be more upfront money. So if you sign the contract now, you'll get money now. And if they end up giving more money up front based on a change, based on these negotiations, you'll get an amendment that'll give you the more money up front.
Commissioner Durancio.
And that was that's a question that I had, that I'd been reading, that there's some negotiations on there for MAC, and that there was a good possibility that more upfront money was going to, you know, it has a possibility, but you explained it very well, so thank you.
Commissioner Krieger.
Thank you. So my question is, so the job that's being done right now, it's going to be transferred back to being under the county exec. That individual will then be out of a job, but she can, I'm understanding, reapply for this position, correct? And do we know when that
You're
job...
out of my territory. These are personnel questions that are locally controlled. All I can speak to is this, that it's being transferred because under Standard 5, which hasn't been adopted yet, but your plan adopts it, to make it independent judiciary, it needs to move off of the court side. And secondly, that the duties of that job, because of the MIDC requirements, will be different. Not necessarily totally different, but there will be changes in the job description based on the things that MIDC requires.
But we're in a holding pattern until the funds are made available, correct? So the posting of this job won't happen until after that period?
Well, that's up to you. Some places are holding their postings until after the money comes in. Some places are posting now and making provisional decisions. That's a local decision. So whatever your personnel policy provides or whatever you decide you want to do, that's entirely up to you.
And we can certainly do it either way, but generally we would post the position, which is posted for a couple of weeks and go through the process. Nobody would start the job. An offer wouldn't be made until the funding is received. But that means that the minute the funding is received, there would already be a decision in the works to go ahead and get that person started in the very near future, because it can take 4 to 6 to 8 weeks to actually go through the whole process between people's schedules, get the interviews, maybe you have to do second interviews, and you have to do other
So when do you anticipate posting?
Well, we wanted to wait until after this board meeting to receive the final approval before we posted it. We still have to finalize the job description, but I would anticipate, provided this goes through today, that there would be a job posting sometime next week, and then we post it for.
That's what I was looking for, so next week. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 2018-236, vacancies, equalization, Department on Aging. I will move that resolution forward.
Support.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That's all we have to play today, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Ryder. From the Board of Commissioners, Commissioner Durancheck.
Resolution 2018-237, reports of the county executive. I'd like to move that forward.
Support.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 2018-238, opposition to Senate Bill 1031, sponsored by Michael Durancheck, 1st District. I'd like to move that forward.
Support.
Discussion. Commissioner Coonan?
I read it, and is there anybody here that, and I support it if I understand it correctly. It would be like Consumers Power or any of those utilities that have poles, and then the municipals charge them for poles or attachments and things like this. Is that revenue therefore going away? Is that what that's all about?
According to, if I can address that, it was in an email that we all received, the utility personal property tax to Bay County is $113 million, so it's 4.11% of our total real and personal taxable value. And some of our townships that are out there are anywhere from 3 to 8% that they would be affected if this went through.
Would also be the city.
Oh,
the
yeah,
city,
exactly. The city,
yeah. Is it attachments? Is it pole attachments and things like this? I mean, who knows, Vaughn or you?
When Matt's supposed to, yes, there's going to be a significant hit on the tech community, so we...
Sounds like they already approved it.
No, it's a bill, it's not been approved yet, and I think they're fighting it. It's been opposed by MAC, and I don't think it's moved much out of the committee that I've heard.
Oh, okay.
Any other discussion? Oh,
It would significantly impact Hampton Township, but of course all the taxing entities, because a considerable amount of money on the personal property tax on all the utility materials and infrastructure. So.
There's all the townships in the city. It's on that email.
Anyone else? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 2018-239, recognition of those who served from Bay County in World War I and those continuing to serve, sponsored by Commissioner Vaughn J. Begitt, 3rd District.
I'll support that.
Discussion.
It is the 100th anniversary. I know there's several ceremonies planned. We always have one here in front of the county building on 11/11 at 11 a.m. I know there's some other ones at the Edson and maybe at the Gold Star Mothers Memorial. So it's the 100th anniversary. So it's sort of, and we have 79 names out there. I actually have a great uncle out there out of beginning. Actually, a lot of them died from the flu, and he was one of them. There was a big flu epidemic at the time, and a lot of people not died that old, they died from the flu. So, and it's also, it is Veterans Day, so it's time to honor our veterans and their services also.
Anyone else? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Next, we have reports of county officials and departments. Mr. County Executive.
Just one last thing, and that would be to thank Chris Zworski and our central dispatch team for the work they're doing on the addressing issue. As I've, moved throughout the county and talked with township officials, they're grateful that the county, in cooperation with them and their input would be, and the county board ultimately approving, an addressing ordinance for Bay County, as it's really critical when you get a 911 call that sometimes we have maybe 3 roads or streets of the same name throughout the county, so it's critical for public safety and responding to 911 calls that we have accurate GPS guided, I guess, location in terms of getting assistance to those people in need. So I want to thank Chris. He's put a lot of hours along with interacting with a lot of other stakeholders throughout the county and putting forth an addressing ordinance that I think will serve our county well in the future.
Is any unfinished business? Any new business? Miscellaneous. Commissioner Duranci.
One item tomorrow night at 6 o'clock in Pinconning. Meet the candidates. Pinconning Community Building on US 23, right next to Wilson's Cheese. There will be a State House seat that's up, the Senate, County Commissioner seats, and the Road Commission, along with discussions on Proposal 1 in Bay Metro. There was one. Bay Metro is going to have somebody there to discuss their millage. That's all I have.
Okay, and on the miscellaneous, I just want to say, I think our Smart 911 app is up and rolling now, so anybody who has a cell phone, you can find that app on your cell phone. It's a really good item. You might want to take a look at it. Everybody likes to put apps on their phone, and that Smart 911 is one of the best things we have going, and you guys over at 911, the whole staff, you're doing amazing things, and we're lucky to have you because you're so far, I don't even know what they do half the time. I go to meetings and I go, I have no idea what you're talking about, but because you're so far above me, you're talking about stuff that I know nothing about, but everybody else does. But I know when the finished product is done, everybody understands it, and that's the important thing, and it's good for the people of Bay County, and you guys out there are doing a tremendous job. And just a reminder to our commissioners that the Tri-County event is at 10/24 at Old City Hall. I believe at 6 o'clock or something like that. 5:30. That's our other announcement. It's sort of a miscellaneous thing. And under announcements, anybody have any announcements before I do this other part? Nope. Okay. In October, we have the Land Bank Authority. We appointed Matt DeHeis. And then Department of Health and Human Services Board of Directors. The 3-year term is Cynthia Howell, and this is the governor's appointment. In November, we have the Building Authority, 2 6-year terms expiring. In December, we have Department on Aging Advisory Committee, 4 2-year terms in Districts 2, 4, 6, and an at-large appointment. Is there a need for a closed session?
Motion to adjourn is always in order, Mr. Chair.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.